me today. I was going to give a brief description of what Ekphrasis was in the beginning, but I'm interrupting you too, which is completely fine. But before I recite my poetry, I'm just going to talk about why I chose this specific genre. So this project really began during my time in Orvieto, and it was a time in my life where I had kind of lost my faith and I was trying to rediscover it. The primary way that I tried to just kind of like reestablish the strong relationship that I had with Christ before was through just really letting the Renaissance art that I saw around me affect me. So that's what started me wanting to write about Renaissance art and a little bit of Gothic art too, which you'll see up here. And I chose to write with Ekphrasis also because of its double remove. So that's one thing that people often critique a lot about ekphrastic writing, is that it's a representation of a representation. But during my spiritual journey, one of the questions I kept asking myself was, how many steps removed can one be and still find divine truths? And so I thought that this genre would be very fitting for that, and that it is several steps removed from the original spiritual stories. All right, so without any further ado, I'm going to read some of my poetry. For each of my poems, I'm going to first read it, and then I'll show the image briefly. And I decided this just because I didn't want the visual arts to distract from the verbal arts in any way. So in doing this, I hope that you'll be able to give your full attention to my words and then your full attention to the art as well. All right, so my first poem, can I get it together here? My first poem is on Annunciation by Simone Martini and Lepomemi. Part 1. She will yes to the already gravestone, water favorite derooted flowers. A euphoric orb hovers inches from her mind, silence before, and in inches, silence after. She begins reading the tragedy her finger lodges between, drawing the curtain of the murder scene she foresees. But with gold and black bouquets, it is an angel who approaches in the birthing room, saying, "The child will live for but a year if you allow him a breath at all." One of the white palms curves down, and his other's thinner, but points up towards a plump lily bud. Mary's split eyes inhabit the sleeve between his split hands. I know this angel. He comes to me in the beginnings of springs, beginnings of deserts, of salts, vacations, and fires. And I hesitate to accept heaven's birthed in swaddling clothes, but say yes for a brush of gold against my chest, for a gold's leg resting within his arms. Part 2. No, you do not know me closely enough. You clad there in black, you sweating at dusk while still this museum dawns around you. Wipe sweat from your eyes and dare approach this golden permanence. See, my raiments just cascaded upon hard ground, much like the marble floor you stand on, and my wings, though pheasant, still touch heaven. The child will live on, I say, not memento mori, not grieve. Your eyes have much to learn about blessings. I've just begun to expand the orb on Mary's head past the silence. Cease confining halos and receive by raising your dark head. So again, that was inspired by Annunciation by Simone Martini and Lepomemi. So there's that image for a brief amount of time. All right. So my next poem is based off of The Annunciation and Expulsion from Paradise by Giovanni di Paolo. In The Annunciation and Expulsion, guilt is the poor oxygen quality that Joseph wants to leave through the chimney. In a side room, cramped and disproportionately small, Joseph prays in exhaust. He squints at the imps Adam and Eve degenerated into. Pale and bloated creatures the angel has to shove into soot-black woods. Below flaking halos, his ancestors join rodents and weeds. Joseph pulls together his elbows and knees and coughs. In the open corridor, a marble wall away, A second angel crosses her arms and tilts toward Mary. Joseph mishears the angel Tisk because coughs and crackles mask the whispers of Annunciation. He imagines through smoke that fire and brimstone burn angelic heads. The painting's whites are singed, and Mary appears a waif no less grotesque than Eve. Joseph hears how fire and brimstone usually sizzle, sometimes roar. Like smoke, shame suffocates more quickly than flames of consequences can dissipate him. Joseph sputters, but this night, holy messengers will walk through courtyard walls and quench the flames, halos emerging through smoke. This night, an angel will breathe into asphyxiations of shame with dreams of new Edens. And there's that image for brief moment. That's the Annunciation by Snowdy Martini and Libo Metten. My next one is influenced by Annunciation to the Shepherds by Bassano. Bassano delivers a sermon of beautiful profanities, blending exclusive palettes of white and grime, streaming angel exaltation into clogged shepherd yawns, sun showers into spilt milk buckets. The heavens leak a morning star, while livestock leaks pus. He paints the insoluble made one, announcing light like black opal. My heart is painted like these shepherds, a couple of my torquing fleshes interrupted by a grotesque heifer spine, 3 catching light like moons, almost half recessive, but in a second gleaming lovelily. Beyond, a mountain splashes up, a white tsunami nearly washing the muck, the sweat from toil, manure from blankets, mold from barrels, lice from sheep. In a second, an angel's ultraviolet light reveals what glistens as heaven mines beauty from nomads' crannies. Bassano highlights each and every mouth, proclaiming chapped words, drool words, words of scraps and tobacco. Each glimmers of angel's breath sparks them rightly at night. In God made flesh, insoluble atonement, in moonlight, angels announce that heaven has infused each shattered shepherd's potential. It's Annunciation to the Shepherds by Bassano. So this is based on the Rest on the Flight to Egypt by Gentileschi. Shawls and blankets whisked around listless limbs, fold and unwind, a million times. They twine against skin and sag there. The details collect like weariness. Deeply shadowed cloth wraps around the starkly simple family with dry eyes and dusty beds. Gentileschi favored draperies over faces. He favors the knotted sack, over which a close to comfortable Joseph stretches and remedies his back. He rests in blankets soiled by desert sands and sweat. Tossing and turning in elaborately painted blankets, he folds and unwinds a million times. While beneath a heavy shadow, his wife stabilizes in her tempestuous clothing and balances her center between child, garments, and air. Between flights and feedings, they fold and unwind a million times. Like the fleeing family, I wear my emotions whirlwinds like sleeves, while my soul appears modest and slab atop dense layers crinkled in shadow. I'm simple in my intricate garments, my wrinkled layers of refuge and flight. There's comfort in cotton, but coolness in nudity. I toss and turn, fold and unwind a million times, thinking, would I be as beautiful as Mary's exposed and radiant skin if I made my vulnerabilities visible in unfamiliar places? Would I also be bright? I am shifting like the light over bricks, hovering like the dawning corner, and wondering, in my shawls and blankets, how much longer I must fold and unwind a million times. It's Rest on the Flight to Egypt by Gentileschi. So this next one is on Madonna of the Carnation by Leonardo da Vinci. White smog and needle-tip mountains gape through windows at the cloud-soft babe. Mary will never welcome stranger draughts to whisper at his delicate flesh. So she turns his unsunned face towards vaporous house bouquets and overly warm blankets. She tends to his distressed reach with petals, knowing age will broaden his palm's radius to clutch thorns. Already his back topples off her lap into the drafted sunroom. Her veiled eyes trace his extending limbs, the shadows in his bodily bends of struggle for what he might someday hold. He flails desperately to touch nature's crimson bud. He could lose balance. The wind howls through the steep windows, and Mary decides that as long as possible, her child must learn topography by tracing the petals of a solitary carnation. And that's Madonna of the Carnation by Da Vinci. This next one's a little different in that rather than just purely describing the painting, I'm describing the experience that I had when I saw it in person. Because some of these I saw in person in Orvieto and some of them I did not, so it varies. But this is on Fra Angelica's Fresco Museum in Convento di San Marco, and it focuses primarily on the presentation of Christ at the temple. Convento di San Marco thumped through its queue of tucked chambers, and a late morning gust inflated the corridor's curtains like lungs. As if blood, I circulated through doorways. The cloisters and I respired together. In, I rushed like hot breath at an icon of crucified feet. Out, I surged like spilled blood towards an icon of resurrection. San Marco and I live a circadian rhythm of death and reliving, grievance and reception, bare walls and golden icons, falling and rising, overwhelmed and awed in diurnal rhythm. The architecture models the heart of God, multitudes of venerable chambers imprinted with moments of sacrifices and victories, and Anna, the prophetess who shares my name in hands. She rushed like hot breath at the bundled promise of Christ's feet. She surged like spilled blood towards the promise of resurrection. 100 chambers treasure icons, allow for prophetess, painter, and poet's fingers to reach at fragile presentations of remembered promises. The prophetess fans open her hesitant palms like I open my shame-laden eyelids in the secret and glistening chambers. The prophetess and I circulated like blood, thirsting for resurrections. Icons dare behold and feel our breathing syncopate with our embraceable maker. In the space of longing, the prophetess and I inhale fulfillment. So this is the presentation of Christ by Fra Angelica. I'm going to skip a couple just for time's sake. I think I'll just go to my last one.
You know how many you skip?
Just skip until I'll tell you. Okay, so just go one back. That'll get them. Okay, so this one is extremely significant to me, just because it's from the Duomo in Orvieto, and so it's called The Resurrection of the Flesh by Signorelli, and it was really important for me just because I saw myself resurrecting in my faith while I would stand in front of this image of the resurrection of the flesh. So there was just a really powerful parallelism there. All right, so this is on Resurrection of the Flesh by Signorelli. I molt creaturely in the inner sanctuary, banishing staunchly wretched leprosies of callous sins and compassions. I, sloughing off carnality, muscle and nerve, bare bones return to dust. Repentance lifts and collects as fresco. My prayers raise me to see what rises. In the painting, angels entreat each dry bone. Why, Signorelli, would you paint flesh on ceilings? Why mirror my dead like they're supernovas? In the innermost, a light needless of sun, renaissances my 99 half-fleshes. They stargaze after 100 dots of speculation, consolatory stellar reincarnations. My 99 half-fleshes astronomize in the Duomo's golden cove. So here's that image then. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.